Hi, my name is Anne Helgren. I'm a relationship coach and I help people find and maintain happy, healthy relationships by working on their confidence, their self clarity, their communication skills, as well as their mindset. So, the whole psychology of change and accepting change is a thing to welcome as opposed to fear.
Hi guys, I'm Anupa Punjabi. I'm a Reiki master and practitioner and I do a lot of energy healing. So my expertise and work is to ensure that you vibrate on a high level by dissolving anything that's stagnant and negative, and we create more of your own life force energy to flow through you for your highest and greatest good and to vibrate on a very high and positive energetic level.
Brilliant. So, the aim of what we're trying to do here is to come together to help people gain a great sense of self clarity, get to really understand who they are from an authentic level, what they value, what they believe, what they want, and align that to other areas of their life. So, they're making decisions based on their true values and their true beliefs, which then goes on to help them create more meaningful and more deeper connections with the people that they have around them.
Lovely. So to recap from what we did yesterday, as you know, this is a two-part series, and the first part that we did yesterday was all about self-discovery and to identify who you are, who you authentically are as a person, and what are your core values and needs. And once you've identified them, you then identify what your core values in a relationship are. And you come to a space of clarity where you have a better understanding for who you are outside of the noise of who you're expected to be. And this is where you've actually had that time to reconnect to yourself and know what makes you tick. What do you love as an individual? What do you value as an individual? And once you've had that realization and clarity on that, you are then able to have clarity on what values you want out of a relationship or a team or somewhere else that you play a significant part in.
Mhm.
That then leads us into communication. But before we go into communication, it's very important that you go through this journey, yes, as an individual, but the person or the people in the relationship or relationships that you're looking to refresh and re-energize and heal should also go through this process of self-awareness and self-discovery. It is a beautiful process. You may go through a few hiccups where you might want to say, oh, that didn't feel so good about me. But you know what? It's who you are. You accept it. You take it in with stride and taking all the good of who you are as a person. But each person in the relationship does need to go through this process in order for everyone to be at the same level and the same space to then bring in the communication element of what we're going to be discussing. And can I take this to you and you tell us, how do you advise your clients when they come to you with communication issues or the issues that they do come to you with?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, one of the first things that I do is work on their clarity. So, getting them to really understand who they are, what they value, and how that connects to their needs. Once we've done that, we then look at helping them communicate their needs to their partner. And one of the ways we do this is looking at different models of communication, but without going into too much detail. I'll give you a few examples. So, if I have a client that comes to me and says, I really value when if we've gone through their value skills and we see one of their main values is perhaps affection. They want to feel loved. They want to feel loved through touch, so through hugs or kisses or physical affection. And they don't seem to get that from their partner. And this ties into sexual relationships as well. So looking at, that kind of intimacy, and they feel that they're not getting it with their partner. One of the things that we look at is, how have you communicated that to your partner in the past? What are the words that you've used? When have you communicated that as well? So looking at the timing of when you're expressing your needs, how you're doing it, the timing of you're doing it, the language, the particular words that we're using, all matter if you really want to get the most out of your partner, or out of whatever you're trying to share that you need from your partner. So, for example, and I'll use the example of affection. So I've had situations where someone has come to me and say they don't feel their partner is particularly affectionate. They do lots of other things that that they appreciate. They're good husbands, they're good fathers, but they just don't seem to connect on that kind of level, on an intimate, affectionate level. And the partner blames it a lot on perhaps he's tired or he's with his friends and so on. And so I asked her to tell me a little bit more about how you communicate this. And she went on to say, well, she admitted, well, perhaps I'm not the greatest at communicating, because I do tend to communicate it when I'm a bit, angry and I'm frustrated, and, why isn't he doing this? And so I suggested to her, using Gary Chapman's model of 5 models of love, try to explain what you're feeling in a way that is, first of all, non-aggressive, not using negative words as well, and explaining in detail how it makes you feel. So I'll give you an example. Rather than saying, when you don't hold my hand, or when you don't cuddle with me on the sofa, I just feel like you don't love me, and I just feel like you don't appreciate me. Perhaps take out the negative words, don't, which is, to be quite honest, never really received in the best way. And it gets people's back up and, quite defensive. Just explain that, when you hold my hand in public or on the sofa, or you give me a kiss for no reason, it makes me feel loved and it makes me feel appreciated. So what you're doing is you're being specific about what actions you want them to take towards you. And you're also being specific about how that makes you feel. So rather than just saying it makes me feel good, explain a little bit more. What does good mean to you? Does it make you feel loved? Does it make you feel appreciated? Be specific to what that brings out for you.
That's really, really in depth, and I like that you've used the languages of love and how to communicate in a positive way, as opposed to communicate only when you're angry or upset or disappointed. And you've also kind of touched on the fact that it's really nice to acknowledge what your partner actually is doing that's nice. And that's where the clarity starts to come in, and the communication starts to come in, is once we've actually had the clarity within us, as people, as an individual, and your partner gets their own self-clarity and self-awareness about themselves, you both have created a lot of internal heart space and opened up a lot of mind space to then be open to receiving, not just giving, asking, or communicating your needs, but now you're able to see your partner's needs, you're able to understand your partner's needs, but you're also open to their way of communicating their language of love to you. And that comes with that open space and that clarity. And once we've dissolved and taken away, or we've shifted the unpleasant stuff, and you've actually come in through a process where you start to appreciate who you are as a person and have this understanding of who you are, you have so much more space now to understand the other individual or individuals, and be able to give and receive in a beautiful flow of communication, of openness, of receiving as well as giving.
Exactly. That's really beautifully put, actually. And it ties in back to what you said. And I know it ties in as well to some of the work that you do yourself with the couples. And I'd love to hear that as well. Just before you tell me a little bit more about that, I think you touched on a point as well that I'd like to emphasize about receiving, giving and receiving. So, and I know you mentioned this as well, and in the beginning, that it would be absolutely fantastic to get your partners to also do this exercise of self-clarity, because I think sometimes you find couples who do a lot of work on themselves and are really into personal development, self-realization, self-awareness, but there's a bit of a discord there if they feel like their partner is not they don't need to be into
They're
personal
not on the same
development in the
level.
same level. Yes, but they need to want to have a bit of curiosity about who they are, and kind of in I'm losing my words here, but to see
It's
who they are.
acknowledging that
Yes,
changes. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. And also, so they're able to connect on a deeper level. When we talk about, self clarity, it really is about connecting on a deeper level and taking them through that exercise as well. So when you start communicating with each other, back to what you're saying about receiving and giving, you're able to tell your partner what's important to you, but it's a two-way street. So receive what's important to them as well, because as we know, we don't always speak the same language of love as your partner. So if they are perhaps showering with you gifts and that's not really important to you, maybe they're showering you with gifts because that's what they want to, that's their language of love. But it works when both of you put in the effort to understand your language of love and communicating what your partner needs as opposed to what you like, because what you like is not always what your partner would value at the highest level, and hence understanding yourself and understanding your partner becomes so important. So that's
That's exactly right. Yeah. Go ahead, Anne.
so that's the kind of stuff that we do in our coaching sessions. But I know as well, Anupa, when we spoke earlier on, you spoke about working with couples, and it was really fascinating. If you could tell us a little bit more about that as well.
So I'd be happy to, Anne. So what we do is we complement each other in the way we work, because you give them the space to talk and you give them the space to express, and you go through exercises in which one verbally, mentally, physically gets to know where they are in a relationship and what the issues are, and that beautiful discovery that you do with them. What we do with the energy work, what I do with couples, is as you know by now, Reiki and energy work is less talk, more action, and more clearing. So when couples come to me for a couples Reiki session, I have them write down what they like, what their goals out of their relationship are. So one, they have to write their goals for themselves, what they need healing for themselves, and two, what they want out of the relationship. What do they want? How do they see this relationship moving forward? So it's a piece of paper with all positive energy and positive words and positive desires that the individual has for themselves, as well as what they have for them together as a couple. And each one gets to do this, and they hold on to it during the session, and they put in all their positive vibrations into these words that they've now written down because they've thought through it. Now, when I began the session yesterday, I did mention that your thoughts are your energy. So if you keep your thoughts clean and positive, they vibrate through you, and then they carry on and have a knock-on effect to your partner or to the people around you, whether it's your teammates, whether it's your friends, whether it's your children. It has a knock-on effect, that energy, and it all starts from the thought. So when that thought is on paper, you're now giving it your heart and soul and saying, this is my desire for this relationship and for myself in this relationship. And the next thing I do is I open up the different areas individually. So I work with each partner individually. First, by opening up their channels of communication, their channels of confidence, where you feel confidence of here or lack of. So we clear the lack and we fill in the confidence that you're inherent. It's part of you to be brave. We open up the heart channels to give and to receive. So we're also recognizing that love is coming our way. We open up the energy work around the head, because we are now getting in tune with ourselves, and we want that clarity within ourselves, but we want that clarity outside as well. We want to see clearly what's happening around us, as well as the wisdom to understand it and to process it. So through all of this, and then we do the grounding. So I ground the individual to know that, to help them feel like, yes, their feet are on the ground. So there may be situations that that take you off balance. There may be situations or emotions or thoughts that take you off balance, but the knowledge that you are grounded will help you come back to yourself and come back to that calm and that peace to then approach any situation with more openness. So I work on the individuals first, and then at the end of the session, I synchronize their hearts and I synchronize them as a couple and bring back that positive energy, rejuvenate them as that couple that see their life together, that see their journey together, and to remember, yes, we are individuals, but we're in this journey together, and there's respect, love, and openness in this journey, and that's what we do to reconnect at the end of the session. So couples leave feeling completely revived, completely rejuvenated, healed within themselves, but healed in the aspect of the relationship as well. So it's a beautiful process.
It sounds really, really beautiful, and really, it feels like that kind of connection of coming together in a whole different spiritual, energetic kind of way that I think is really important as well when you're trying to connect with your partner. Because you mentioned energy as well, and I'm a huge believer, and I think it's quite obvious the kind of energy you're giving out is felt, it's vibrated, and you cannot be in a place where you have lots of negative energy and be vibrating positivity. It's and that's what they talk about as well, with your partner. If you have someone who is joyful and happy and so on, what their energy is going to be that kind of energy, and vibrates into the relationship, whether it's with your partner, your friends, your family, your colleagues. So I think it's a really beautiful way of grounding yourself to a beautiful place of good energy that you share with your partner as well. And I'm just thinking about what kind of tips we can give to our viewers to help them when it comes to communication, and how they can implement things now that will help them in their relationship. So I can start if that's okay. And I'm thinking,
I would love you to share those languages of love and how effectively to communicate them.
Yeah, sure. So I with the languages of love, they are created by Gary Chapman, and I highly, highly recommend everyone do this. Just type it in on Google. It's a little assessment. It doesn't take very long to do, but get yourself and your partner to do it, and then share the results of your scores. It is extremely eye-opening, because not only do you discover things about yourself, but you also discover things about your partner, and that helps start the journey of communicating the other person's love language. So they're feeling that love, and they're feeling love, because that's ultimately what it's about. In a relationship, you want to feel the love and the connection to each other. You want to feel understood. You want to feel appreciated. And the way to do that is by understanding each other's love language. So highly recommend that as the first tip. The other thing is as well is there are quite a few different personality tests out there, and I'm not suggesting people go and start doing personality tests, but since you know yourself through this clarity exercise that you've done, and hopefully your partner has also done the same test as well, and not test, sorry, assessment, if you like, or questions, kind of exercise. That's the one I'm looking for. The same
the journey within.
Yes, exactly. You've both gone on that journey of self-discovery and getting to know yourselves a bit more, and a bit more clear about what you want, what you value, what you need. You can then sit down and communicate that to each other, and just have an honest, open conversation with each other. Look at each other's results and just discuss it in an open manner. Again, we're keeping out negativity out of it, where it's not a blame game of this is what I want and you've never given it to me, or you don't get this or I don't get that. It's not about criticizing each other. The whole point of the exercise and is to be authentic. First of all, it's an authentic discovery for yourself and for your partners, individuals, first of all. And then together as couples is about you, again, connecting with each other. And the way to do that is honesty and being authentic to each other. Look at the exercise results and start communicating with each other so that you understand how to make the other person's needs met. Now, as you write these values, you'll have a list, and I'm sure some people have ended up with 10, some end up with 50. I'll just give you another tip as well, what's useful once you do write down your values. Once you've written down your values, have a look at the list and then circle the ones that you value the most, or the ones that you think, I absolutely cannot live without these values. Like, these values are fundamental to me. And that is a sign that these are your needs as opposed to wants. And these are the ones that are really important in relationship, because if our needs are not being met, that's when the breakdown starts occurring. You can have a whole list of 50 things. I mean, as human beings, it's going to be hard to meet 50 different things that your partner needs. And that's why it's important to highlight, what do I need versus what do I want? They might not meet all your wants, but it's important that you work on meeting the needs, because that's where the key breakdowns happen, when the needs are not met. But it's important to differentiate them for yourself first before you're able to communicate that to your partner.
I agree with that. It's some work to do, but it's good work to do. And once you've done this fundamental work, as you said, you can only rise above it, and things can only be better because you've cleared everything out. It's like taking out the trash. You've taken it out, you've cleared, you've done your spring cleaning, and you've got a fresh new space that is vibrating in high energy with positive energy, that now you have that lovely space to work with, and you're both in it together. You're both vested in this, having done all this work, and then you're able to allow it to flow. Exactly. Because you're both now starting at the same point. Yes. And we're done with assumptions, and we're done with presumptions, and we're done with all the language that is not useful, and we brought in the internal language, the internal dialogue that we need to then be able to have the external dialogue. So it can only flow beautifully and openly from there.
Exactly. In the coaching sessions that we do, I mean, we dig way deeper into that. So, looking at things of, why do you value what you value, and what does that mean to you, and so on. And we spend quite a significant amount of time both on the clarity workshop and the communication workshop. But these are just a couple of tips that you can take away now and implement for yourselves, for your relationships. And by the way, this doesn't need to apply just with your significant other. There are a lot of people, I think, who've benefited from the workshops and attending the workshops, that have then gone on to use those skills to get better relationships with their parents, or with their siblings, or, with their friends, perhaps even work colleagues, because you then understand yourself better, and you're able to analyze, okay, if this is what I'm bringing to this relationship, how could I make it better? What am I doing as well that is perhaps not as great as it could be? And it's not about not being your authentic self, but it's a journey of growing. It's a journey of self-improvement in life, right? So that whole self-discovery aspect also helps you recognize your weaknesses. And that is also really empowering, because it then shows you as well where you have room for growth, where you have room for expansion, and how you can improve that, especially with certain relationships that you find significant.
Yeah, I have to agree. What you've said about your workshops and how you work with these different aspects in entirety into really deep depth of them, it's so valuable with in sibling relationships and parent and child relationships, because
Yes.
those are the relationships. Parent-child relationships are the ones in need of this real deep digging and open communication. So yes, I can totally see how your workshops would help in all of these areas.
Just a really
Yeah.
quick point on that, Anupa, as you mentioned with the parents and children, and how many people just, are struggling to have good relationships with their children. It's quite sad. But Gary Chapman doesn't just talk about 5 languages of love with your partner. He also talks about 5 languages of love with your children. So
Yeah.
understanding your children's 5 languages of love. If your child wants to be praised and wants to hear how fantastic they are and how well they did and how proud you are of them, but you never express that, but you spend all this time on holiday with them and giving them everything that you thought they wanted, but all they ever wanted was a word of praise, or
Yeah. A hug.
a hug,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So understand your children's language of love as well. So when we talk about communication, it's not just limited to your partner, it extends to everyone else in your life that is significant to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And that it all comes from who, once you've recognized yourself, and then taking that time to recognize the other individual as well. I think
Exactly.
that is. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, this is
All right.
lovely, and I'm sure everyone had a lot to take from today, and you surely have given a lot of great tips here, a lot to think about and a lot to work with. But they all seem so doable and easy, that someone, any individual, anyone listening here today can actually go through this journey on their own, and you're always there for them to call on to work. If they need deeper work done, then you are there with your sessions and your workshops as well.
Yes, thank you for that, Anupa. If anyone has any further questions or anything they'd like to find out about the workshops, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out, please, to any one of us. Anupa, thank you so much as well for sharing the wonderful work that you do with your individuals and as couples and that connection. And the energy work that you're doing. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. From the moment I met you at one of the networking groups that we belong to, I just thought
Yeah.
what you were doing was amazing. So I'm
Thank
really
you.
privileged to be doing this with you, and thank you for that. I think we're going to just wrap it up by wishing everyone a lovely day or evening, wherever you are in the world, but also just saying, please feel free to comment, to like, and share this video with anyone else that you think would find value from it. Reach out to us individually as well. You have our contact details at the end of this video or the comments bar, depending where you're viewing this from. And we would love to hear from you.
I'm wishing you all good luck and happy relationships and happy self-discovery.
Yes.
And as Anne said, we're here anytime you need to reach out to us.
Yes.
So enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.